I want to get to a story here where we're diving into the investigation now that really hits close to home for many parents. Our Nate Morabito has uncovered some serious security gaps in schools, school-issue technology, putting children at risk from inappropriate images to violent video games, students in the Iredell-Statesville school system accessing content during school hours that really would shock a lot of parents, Nate. And so he's here to discuss what is happening here live in the Live Impact studio, Nate. And want to start off really with the question of what tipped you off that there might be security issues with these school-issued iPads and technology?
I mean, it's a great question. So as you all remember, I spent a lot of time in Iredell County last year covering coal ash concerns. And I met a lot of people and I talked to a lot of people that were concerned about that issue. And because of that, they have kind of known that if there's an issue there, they can reach out to me. And so someone alerted a parent up there that they should reach out to me. And this father had, throughout the school year, multiple issues with his son's tablet use. And you know how it works in school nowadays. The parents and the students get these forms before the school year starts where they promise to follow the rules. You know, rules get broken a lot. And we're talking about kids, not adults here, who are using these tablets. And throughout the school year, this father started noticing some things. Number one, that his son was missing assignments and didn't understand it. And come to find out, he was playing games during the school day to start out with. And what's interesting about this child is he has accommodations for a disability that require, number one, his iPad stay in his backpack until a teacher tells him to pull it out, but also that a teacher continuously monitors to make sure when he does have his iPad, he's on task. And so it started out with these video games, which kind of seems a little bit harmless, you know, except that he was starting to miss assignments, right? We're going to school to learn. You know, we have recess to play. Sometimes they have, like, you know, their own free choice time, but most of the day the tablet's there as a learning tool. So it escalates. The dad says this is becoming an issue. He takes control of the iPad settings, starts blocking websites, and then the son starts emailing his friends all day during the school day, right? So this is another thing that's happening. Eventually, he thinks his son has learned his lesson, kind of gives control back to the boy in the school, and then he emails me. This is kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. He emails me, and there's dozens of pictures of women, and a handful of them leave nothing to the imagination. Oh, wow. And this is like a sixth grader, right? So you could say, oh, a sixth grade boy, but some of them are clearly, objectively inappropriate, especially on an iPad that's using the school's Wi-Fi and that's issued by the school. And the dad just said, I've had enough. I can't have him dealing with this anymore. And eventually he enrolled him in homeschool just because his son has this essentially a tablet addiction. And then we heard from another parent. Okay. So I wanted you to hear from both of them right now, just so you can kind of meet them first and foremost before we continue our conversation.
All right, here we go.
Like, no lie, in the moment, I called my mom, because if your mom's here, that's what you do. Mom, what do I do to fix this? Mom doesn't know how to fix this. And then I emailed the superintendent, the principal, and everyone on the board. At this point saying I am done with the iPad, because we just had a meeting 2 weeks prior where I was trying to say we have an iPad issue and they're saying we don't. And at this point I said we're done with the iPad.
The fact that he can access and download Call of Duty on a school iPad with school internet, and that it's a shooting game during school hours, and he was in first grade at the time, so if a first grader can do that, what can our older, more advanced children do on these things?
So he was able to play Call of Duty at school on a
very violent
tablet.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, part of what we do, and Jen, you know this, and Carlene, you know this. I mean, I'm very meticulous in my reporting. We're not going to just take one incident and say, oh, this is a problem. Right. We're essentially building a case that there are some real issues here. And through our reporting, we also found, despite some filtering changes, there was an inappropriate book another student was able to access that was not age appropriate. I mean, so there's all of these different families that are dealing with it, and the biggest concern to these parents is that they feel dismissed. And this is something I find a lot in my reporting. People who've been essentially screaming, help me, we have a problem. And for whatever reason, when they ask for help, they feel like they're not getting taken seriously, and their concerns are diminished and ultimately dismissed.
So, I mean, obviously with very graphic pictures of women and violent pictures as well, and being told that this is not a problem over and over again with separate families, where's the disconnect? Is there?
I mean, so
one?
look, the dad, let's start with him. He says 100% this is his son's fault, right? He is to blame. He's responsible for his actions. But the safety net is the district, is the school, is the accommodations that he has in a form that they've all agreed to help protect this kid and make sure he's getting the education he needs. And so if you look at the technology use form that Iredell Statesville School District uses, it puts the blame solely on the kid.
Oh.
The kid is responsible. We're not going to be held responsible for anything that these children access. When we pushed the school district about this, though, they say, yeah, I mean, it really is up to everyone. It takes a village, and we get that,
Sure.
right?
Right.
I think a lot of times what I find is that parents tried in good faith to follow the proper steps to get help. And, I think Drake Smith, the dad, told me that, one teacher said, well, he's not the only one that does this. Well, okay, alarm, if multiple kids are doing this, what can we do to handle it? And then you think about the teachers. I mean, a teacher, their responsibility is enormous, and they have so many kids. And the truth is, in education, every kid is guaranteed an individual education that meets their needs. And so you have one teacher managing all these children, trying to educate them. How much support do they have? Ultimately, the institution, the system, is the school and the school district. Mm-hmm. That is the safety net.
Yeah, exactly. And why not put proactively those controls before issuing said technology?
Well, and ISS says we have strict filtering. In fact, we have even more tough filtering than the state has. So yes, they've improved their filtering, but clearly it's not doing the trick.
Right.
And so what we want to do is ultimately minimize this, so that there's less and less risk for children to access this kind of material.
And yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I can't think of any parent that's going to be at home saying, I'm okay with my kid doing that during the school day.
Yeah.
Again, though, the child is responsible, the parent's responsible, the teacher's responsible, the school's responsible, the district's responsible. I mean, there's a lot of people here that are responsible, but our children should not have access to this. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, too, it takes a village and to stay on top of those things. And then as technology improves and kids are very savvy, they can find those back doors and cracks through any kind of wormhole and try to...
For sure, but these kids weren't doing that even. So these kids were not bypassing filters. They were just getting it.
Yeah.
And then you have the kids that are smarter that can bypass
Right.
it. The mom, Amber Ford, who you heard from, told me, first of all, her older kids are in middle school, they email all day. And also, one of their teachers showed them how they can bypass a filter for YouTube to get additional content that will help them with a project. But the truth is those videos are restricted for a reason. So, I mean, everyone, I like to think everyone, give them the benefit of the doubt, we're doing the best that we can in the situation. But once presented with facts that this is an issue, you would hope before next school year, they took a hard look at this and try to make the appropriate changes.
All right, so then for folks watching your story tonight at 11, I believe.
That's right, yep.
What can parents, do? What should they look for?
Well, number one, I want to remind parents that your school board members, they are your advocate, okay? So you elected them. You may not know who represents your district. There
Find
are
out.
at-large school board members as well. Find out. And whenever you have a concern, if you feel like the school or the district, they're not being responsive enough, reach out to your school board member. And also, you just got to check in on your kids' tablet use. I mean, there are ways to see what your kids are searching up. You can look at the history, that kind of thing, and just make sure you have open communication with the teacher, too. I think that's so critical. This is a long year, a school year, every year. You need to make sure you have open communication with your teacher and just say, hey, is my child, are they showing any signs of using the iPad too much? Both of these parents think they're on the iPad way too much in school, but this is the world we live in now of technology. And so we have to find a way to use it to the best of our ability, but also protect our kids in the process. A balancing act, and again, I think people are acting in good faith, But clearly, there are some safety gaps here that should get a fresh look, especially over the summer.
All right. Again, Nate Morabito in the Live Impact studio with his story that's going to air tonight on WCNC Charlotte at 11 and be here on WCNC Plus as well as the app. A very important story for parents and families alike. Thanks for the insight.
Thank you all for having me.
Absolutely.